Hey, this is D. Webb from the D. Webb Realty Group, and I'm sitting here with the name of your company.
This is the Gonzalez Group, powered by Nexa Mortgage.
And
This is Hasiel Gonzalez speaking, and to my left over here is my brother.
Fidel Gonzalez.
and what we want to talk about is what's the first thing you need to do when you're buying a home, when you're looking for a home. What's the first thing you need to do? That's what we're going to talk about.
Well, it's a funny conversation to have, to be honest, right? Because I feel like if you look at it all over you say social media is kind of the norm where people, in a way now, take in information, and a lot of times it's kind of become like, I feel as that's where people get their news sources from. Not necessarily, I think, would be. I guess it's hard to say that it would be, this is where you need to get your news source. But if you always see it, I always see realtors do this, right? Say, hey, contact an agent, then get pre-approved. It's pretty common. It's pretty much oftentimes happens that way, and it's not necessarily always the best way, but it's hard to have that conversation with people right off the bat. Say, what's your finances like? That's
Right.
pretty personal
Right.
question.
Right, like he always says, we're always on the phone with people, and he's like, there's nothing sexy about a mortgage. To
Right.
be honest,
There isn't.
and the sexy part about it is, going and looking at the homes and picturing what your
That's the
life
fun
is gonna
part.
Yeah.
what your life is gonna be like inside that home.
Oh,
So
yeah.
no one ever starts with, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and just go look and see if I'm even pre-approved or how much I'm pre-approved for. They
Right.
kind of just ballpark saying, I think I'm good at this, or I'm good at this.
Or what
price
they're
point.
comfortable, right?
Right.
Or what they say, hey, what I think I can afford, right? Or the biggest thing is, to be honest, is it's like having the conversation to say, hey, I guess I say a pet peeve of mine would be when people are like, hey, what's the max I can qualify for? I was like, wait, hang on, let's backpedal a bit, okay? Because originally it sounds great. I want this, beautiful house, and it's great, and I'm gonna be so happy.
400,000, yeah, 5 bedrooms, 2
Yeah.
baths. Yeah.
Who's gonna clean it?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah.
No, but what comes down to, right? The conversation is always pretty much the same. To be honest, it's hey, I understand that you're looking for a home and you have an idea, and I'm asking you what's comfortable. Tell me what's comfortable payment wise, right? Many times, with how things are set up, we can qualify you for more than you're actually maybe comfortable with.
Right.
And so it's about comfort.
Oh, yeah.
It's about comfort. Nobody wants to be house poor.
No. And one thing I want to drop this hammer, and I want everybody that can hear us and see us. And I want to say something that you told me like last week about, I don't have to do it, Fidel, Credit Karma.
Yeah,
See?
consumer
So-
credit, yeah, consumer
Can
credit.
we do that? Is that okay for you? Can
Yeah,
we talk about that?
absolutely.
Okay.
That's a
Credit
favorite topic
karma.
of mine. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
favorite
you see
topic.
them on TV, they're free, and
Yeah.
all the other ones are free. But when you go into Fidel's office and you got that Credit Karma score, he might tell you something different.
It pretty much 100% of the time. I mean, you know what? Here's the deal. So, like, without completely just ripping on anything or anything, it is a good idea in theory to say, hey, this is the pattern of my scores, right? So it'll tell you patterns. The problem with consumer side of things is that the bracket's actually bigger. So when you're saying, hey, my score is a 680, but the bracket's between 350 and either 1,000 or 1,100, and it really depends on which consumer credit side it is. But when you go to the mortgage side of things, when you go to the bank to get anything, it's at 350 to 850.
Yep.
So when you shrink
That's
that down, it makes a difference, right? It's and you know what? It is a source of conflict at times, right? But well, this says this. I'm like, I do understand.
Right.
I do understand. But Credit Karma isn't lending, right? They're not. They're putting out information, and it is educational, and it is to for us Americans to realize how important credit is.
Yes.
I mean, it's I say this is a saying I say a lot, and you'll probably hear it, and people get tired of it, especially my colleagues around me, Haas over here, and our bud is I believe that in the Western civilization that we live in, especially in the United States, there are the two most important things that a human has, right? Is one, health, right? Because if you don't have health, nothing matters. Nothing else matters.
Nothing
But
matters.
behind the health is credit,
Credit.
because it affects employment, anything has to do. Starting a business,
rent
anything.
an apartment,
Anything.
Getting insurance, everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's important.
Right.
It's important, and it's probably one of those things where it is very it's kind of taboo at times, right? That people don't want to talk about what their issues or where their questions are because they feel kind of maybe like they shouldn't know, right? It's not something we've taught of. It's probably one of the most important things that all us, in a senior year of high school should be learning about because we're about to come into the real world and know personal finance. It's important. It affects the rest of your life because a bad start can affect 10 years.
Right.
You get out, you make bad decisions right out the gate. You might be 30 before it's bad, and it's something that definitely needs economics is nice, right? Studying that or history is good to know where we come from and what happened and things of that sort. But what's more important?
Right.
Credit.
Credit and cash.
Yes, absolutely.
I know people say, the root of money is the root of all evil. But I can tell you this, the lack of money is the root of all evil. And if you have bad credit, you really jacked up.
Yes.
Think about it. There is help out there for people. Mm-hmm. And I have colleagues that come and say, hey, I can fix people's credit in so many months and things like that. But there's a certain way in the program that a mortgage person would want to see when you come. You say, okay, I went to a credit repair place, right? And I've been there for 6 months, and then he bring the file over to you, and then you go through it with like in school with the little red pen and say, hey, you got to do this, got to do that, right? And they're getting frustrated.
Yes,
but I already did it all. Like I thought that's what I paid for. Yeah,
$2,000 for the credit repair,
right?
$100 a month, whatever, and then
that's the difficulty, honestly. So that's the biggest thing, right? Finding a good partner for that is quite difficult, to be honest, because everybody comes out like, hey, I have a credit repair. And there is no real science to it to say. Like, there's not like, hey, this is A, B, C, D. Most of them just contest things until something is one hair is out of place. And if the hair is out of place, then the creditor has to remove it. But you got to be just constantly sending letters and doing all this. And it's time consuming. And sometimes it's just like maybe it's better off telling the client, say, hey, listen, we can try this and we can try to do this, but it's going to be a while. And most of these things, to be honest, you can do on your own. Yeah. Right, but what the problem with us is
watch YouTube. They got all kinds of things you can do.
Right. No, actually, you're right. You're 100% right. YouTube, you can do anything now. You can fix your dishwasher. You can fix your credit.
Be a certified plumber if you want to in an hour.
You can learn how to code. You learn about crypto. No, no, but in all honesty, right? It's the problem. The problem when it comes to us as the human race, right, is sometimes when it's not, especially here, I feel like in the States, right, it's not, if it's not immediate, we kind of quickly stray from it, right?
Yeah, you got to have it now.
Right? Yeah, it's a now society.
My credit I messed my credit up for 10 years, but I want you to fix it now.
Right? Yes.
And it's just.
Right.
And a lot of people come in and they're looking at, well, I saw this house and this. Well, they make great money. I mean, I have clients that call, I work at Chrysler, I work at GM, and I'm making great money. But it's not saying that you cannot get a house.
Right.
But the interest rate, you want to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
What are they looking at as the interest rate if somebody come in with a 580 and somebody come in with a 680?
Right.
That interest rate might be
$80,000
over the cost of the loan.
Oh yeah, it makes a difference.
I looked at little calculations and said that can't be right.
Oh, it adds up quickly. It's one of those things, right? Like when people say it makes a big difference, and I always say, okay, they come in and say have a 580. It's like we can make it happen. We can make it happen. Thankfully with the company that we're at, we are doing pretty darn well even at a 580 with rates and things that sort.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
We're very competitive down in that area. In the 580s, it's that kind of. I want to say we have a lot of investors that really have the appetite for that type of borrower, that kind of that credit range and stuff like that. So, really, realistically, it's helping people who have been essentially turned down from either a bank or maybe another brokerage or something.
Retail.
Maybe from not from Chase per se.
Right.
No.
Wells Fargo. It'd
No.
It
be
would be
a private lender institution, or
No, it's not private. It's still you're going to be your FHA VA, right?
so you're still gonna be
you're
within
not
it.
going to get conventional financing at that, but you're going to do FHA VA, and that'll be fine. And honestly, it's not to toot our own horn. Our company is based on a very thin margin to ownership, and there's no middle management. So that means we pass everything right down to the consumer, right? So that's how we differ, and how every one of us around the country, all 429, the last count that we had, is we're really there for the client. The consumer is the end all everything to us. And we really are doing that. We're putting. And I know that's kind of lip service, right? A lot of people say this, and this is pretty normal conversation. Say, "Oh, we're all about the client. Our mission statement is this and that." Listen, that's not true. Sometimes we know that.
Man.
It's all about the almighty bottom dollar, right?
Yes.
What does it do to our stock price? How much is it? Is it feeding our CEO and things of that sort? And we don't have any of that. There's no CEO. Well, there's a CEO. Don't get me wrong. Corporation doesn't run without a CEO. But there's no board members. There's no stockholders. There is one thing we're doing only. We're closing loans.
Right. And like one thing we like to, like, when people ask me like, what's Nexa Mortgage? Like, we've never heard of Nexa Mortgage before. And I'm like,
talk about this.
I'm like, okay, well, like Nexa Mortgage is, pretty much it allows us, as the Gonzalez brothers, as the Gonzalez group,
The Broker Brothers.
Yeah,
I like
we're gonna
that.
go be
Yeah,
the
I love
right,
it.
Hashtag Broker
I love
Brothers.
it.
Right.
I'm loving it.
So as us, we are able to operate essentially as our own broker shop without having to handle the compliance end that we would normally have to do if we were on our own completely. Okay. So they handle all that stuff. All we focus is on closing deals and getting people into homes. Right. So the biggest thing is, you go to a bank, right? They have car loans. Right. They have credit cards. They have, they want you to, hey, give me your money. Hey, I'll give you this rate if you give me all your money, and then we, we'll work it for you.
Right.
But the thing is,
it's a package deal.
Right. The one thing that Nexa Mortgage does provide is we literally just focus on mortgages. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. We're not gonna try to sell you a credit card. We're not gonna try to sell you on a car loan or anything like that.
To be honest, this is the broker movement. This movement is happening across the country right now. Right. It's picking up steam, and with one of our own local companies, United Wholesale Mortgage, they are really helping all of us mortgage professionals around the country on focusing and really kind of honing in on what we should be doing.
Right.
We're taking care of the people.
Okay.
We're taking care of the client base. We're taking care of the American consumer.
Okay.
And without that, I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have to make a living. We all have families to feed. We all have college tuition to pay.
I
And
have to break down this myth that, I guess the people think they'll walk in the office and there's not closing costs.
Right.
There's costs that goes along.
Right.
Well, I'm getting zero everything. No.
Ain't there's
no
nothing
such
free
thing.
in this world, right? we've known that from a long time ago, right? Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. So,
right.
With your company, what's your phone number that people want to? Before we go to the phone number, I had put out like maybe a week ago for everybody that's a renter. I put it on my Facebook, my LinkedIn, and everything. Everybody that's a renter right now that's paying $950 above.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that's listening or looking at us, everyone that's a renter, I want you to call this number.
Yep.
And you've been working on your job at least 2 years?
Yep.
You can do 2 years?
I mean, well, we have some creative financing without necessarily.
We can paint the pictures if we need to.
Right.
We
have everything when it comes down to.
Give me a list. Give me a criteria right quick before we put your number out there.
All right.
So people are calling like that's not on the list.
Right. Right. No. Okay. Well, here's the overall. Every person's situation is a little bit different, but we'll say this, right? We all say that you have to have a 2-year job history, be on the job for 2 years,
or the same line of work. Depending
well,
on
it's
where
not necessarily just
from.
being at one company for 2 years. It's about having a 2-year job history, right?
Right.
Where you're actually reporting taxes and the good stuff, paying the IRS. Uncle Sam's got to get his cut.
He will get it.
He will. He always do somehow or another. But no. So that really. FHA allows you to go down to 500. It's just going to require 10% down, which is not necessarily always the case in those situations, right? But it's possible. But I say this, okay? So if you're a 580 credit score and above, and you have a 2-year job history with being on a steady job, you would say, right? You have a good chance of buying a home. It's possible. Okay. It's not impossible.
Right.
Okay?
And one thing that I got from my brother, is he's always saying, hey, on renting, you're always paying 100% interest.
Oh.
Always.
Wow. Yeah.
Always. Because you're not getting anything back besides somewhere to lay your head at night. That's it.
And we have to have a roof,
right.
but I mean,
right, which I mean, for time being, that might be what you need to do. But the thing is, if you're paying like $950 or $1,000, you can afford $120,000 home.
And I have them.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
That's why this connection right here is so great right now.
Right.
Well, do the math, right?
Right,
so
right.
like you say, hey, I'm gonna wait another year, and this is the thing,
Yeah,
right?
talk about that.
So here's the thing, right?
Waiting
Wait.
versus-
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, right? Oh, I'm gonna wait till my credit score is 640 because even though I can do it now, I'm gonna have a better rate. This that. Well, we don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
We don't know what it's gonna be like a year down the road, right? Things can be ever gonna be different, right? So I mean, if you want to achieve stability and really that's the biggest way how we really create wealth for ourselves is having a home. Generally it's the American dream, right? Simply put, right?
Right, well,
it's owning a home.
If you look at like the world's, I found the stat somewhere, and it's what's one thing that everyone who is wealthy or is considered wealthy. What's one thing they have in common? They all own real estate.
Real estate.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. That's what he started.
Right.
Right.
It starts there, and then, they carry
Or that's
off.
how you protect wealth
Right.
too, right? Like you get there too with that, right? And say you have a high-paying job, but real estate is a very good way to segue the fact of how much taxes. I mean, we're getting into what you should call your CPA on, but nonetheless, I'm not a CPA, so don't get me wrong. But what it comes down to is this: real simple, right? So you're paying $950 a month. That's $11,400 a year. Okay, so now say 5 years. Put that together. Now we're talking about a calculation of $57,000. Okay, where to go?
Just right up into the wind.
It kind of messed me up right there.
It's very easy to just sit there and say, oh, you know what, it's tolerable, and I'm going month by month and doing my thing and living my life. But when you put the numbers behind it, it's jarring. That number is jarring. To be honest.
Right. And I think people in my age and my generation, I'm 26 years old, so a lot of my friends moved to the city. Like, hey man, I'm renting this sweet loft and blah blah blah. They're like, but I'm paying $1,800.
Oh yeah, I know it.
for a one bed, or not even, it's a studio or something. It's a flat, and just like, man, like.
That's crazy.
That is nuts. That you could. That's a $200,000 home right there that you're
above.
paying. Yeah, it's above.
Especially right now.
Right, especially right now.
Rates are smoking hot.
Yeah, with the way the market is right now, it's absolutely unbelievable. But I think realistically, when people are starting their look into their search into finding a home and see where they're going to start their lives, no matter if they're going to start their lives or if they're already established, have a family and stuff like that, it's not necessarily go to a realtor right away, because like lately what we've run into is, okay, like realtors are asking, are you pre-approved yet?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, why
I
would
can't
I
do anything with
right, how do I know that you can even afford this house? Why am I going to show you this house? So the thing is contact somebody, whether a mortgage professional or a broker, bank, or whatever. Just get a pre-approval letter or something. Well,
broker.
Our saying is brokers are better. Hashtag brokers are better.
Yeah,
but that's what we feel, right? It's not right for everybody, but sometimes it does fit with the model of, we're trying to do what's best for the consumer,
right?
Because they're the end all be all, right? So my thing is why are you going to go look at something like we were saying earlier at the beginning of this podcast? We're saying, hey, we don't know if I don't know if I'm comfortable paying for a $250,000 home, right? Yeah, I can afford it, but am I comfortable doing it? Like, am I going to be able to go out, have drinks with the boys, and go out and do these things, go to Lions games or do whatever I want to do in my spare time? Because realistically, people are like he said earlier, he's like, how much can I get pre-approved for? Like, oh, hold up.
Slow
down.
How
much do you, right.
Yeah, that's the number
3
one
months
question.
Later, I'm talking to you down at the county building.
Right.
We don't want that.
Right.
None of us want that. Okay, it hurt.
Right.
And you know what? And it's that mentality, right? Because it's not just you ruining your credit and having your bad moment, it affects neighborhoods, right?
Right.
Because now that's kind of how the things start, right? So
it's not always go big or go home.
Yeah,
essentially.
not on this
smart.
side, not on this side of things,
especially when it gets to your financials, because this could really, like you're saying earlier, this could, one thing that you said. 2 things that are for sure in life, or that you absolutely need is your health and your credit score. Right. So you got to be careful what you're doing and how you're going about your home search, essentially. Don't go for the top end. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, maybe living in Royal Oak is awesome for somebody who can actually comfortably afford it. Back in the day, right? Back in the day, it used to be like, you could buy a house here for 80 or so, but like now it's not like that anymore. It's not. I mean, it really isn't. And I have a lot of friends that live here. I have a lot of friends that live here, and they've started buying homes rather than leasing and renting out apartment spaces or whatever it is. And it's just like, okay, now you're starting to make decisions that are actually good for you and that you're actually going to build equity and you're going to help yourself out in the long run. You're going to save money because now you have something that you can turn around and sell if you need to, right? And when you're leasing,
forced savings, right? So that's one thing we're bad at, right? Saving money. As Americans, we're it's always in our face, right? Buy everywhere we go.
Bigger.
Yeah, more. The new iPhone or the new this, right? You gotta have everything right now. I can't wait. And that's just the way we live, right? But so owning a home, as little as it is on a 30-year amortization, right? As little as you may be putting away towards principal, you're building something.
Yep.
You're building something, right? Next thing you know, we know, right? Time gets faster and faster. All of a sudden, it's been 10 years. Do that calculation. Now we're talking about $114,000.
Right. So hey, I mean,
maybe you get on a mortgage, right? And you might have created. They say for the first to be 100% obviously transparent on this thing. So the first 15 years of a mortgage is mainly interest, right? Yeah. But then that's also something that you can go and for the taxes. Once again, CPAs. Yeah, right. Shout out to the CPAs out there doing that. But in the end, right, you are forcing yourself to have a savings, right? Now, obviously, everyone's like, whoa, what if there's a market crash and things of that sort? Like, okay, historically speaking, everybody remembers 2008, right? Everybody remembers that and is scarred, and they're like, hey, we're waiting for that next opportunity. That was a perfect storm. Everything was wrong, and it happened in a manner that was
the perfect wrong storm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no storm is necessarily good,
right?
But it's always damaging. But I mean, what it comes down to is those metrics aren't there right now. So I still get this a lot. I'm looking for a foreclosure. Like, I'm going to get some steel. Like, that doesn't happen.
Right, buddy, I don't know where you're looking.
That really doesn't happen anymore, right?
No.
Unless you know somebody.
Right.
I used to go down to the city county building like on Tuesdays. Was it Tuesday or Thursdays at 11 o'clock, Wayne County City County building, and they did the foreclosure auction.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was part of my job when I was with Keller Williams, and I would go down there, and I would just look, and I said, man, it was people that's coming with lots of cash.
Oh, yeah.
And you're trying to go in there and trying to get a foreclosure. They're going to outbid you every time.
Right. And they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to get in that game.
Right. So it's like that whole thing is a foreclosure. Like, okay, well that's not reality, right? And we simply have an inventory problem, right? Plenty of people out here. I have my board is full with pre-approved buyers, but they just can't find the house. Right. There's just not enough.
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah, there
We're
it
gonna
is.
make this team, the Gonzalez's and the Webbs work together. But
Right.
for instance, like we were saying, if you're paying $950 a month and above, this show and all these podcasts is coming after this. Everything that we're going to talk about is about real estate. I don't care it's from the roof to the windows to the floors, everything. So you're paying that kind of money, and you've already did the calculations, and you're talking about $50,000 and $100,000 in 10 years you paid just in rent.
Right.
Now, if they come into your office or give you a call,
Right.
and they've been working on their job continuous for 2 years, they paid the taxes and all that kind of stuff, and credit score could be maybe 620. I know they're out there because I know you're listening to me.
Right.
They're out there, 620s, things like that. You got to give these guys a call.
Guys,
Absolutely.
even a 580.
You still can
just
make it happen.
Come to us.
Right.
The worst. So the one thing that we really pride ourselves is not necessarily like, hey, we don't have to just close the deal for you. Like whether you choose to go with us or not, that's up to the consumer. That's up to you as a consumer. So what we pride ourselves on is, providing education for the people that are coming to us. If we can help you out, we don't care if you come with us or not,
Right.
because right now
Ideally,
there's
we'd
plenty
want
of,
you to, but
right.
Right.
Ideally, it's like, hey, we just helped you out so much. Like, hey, come on over. But the thing is, it's realistically, we're in the game to educate people and help them make one of the biggest financial decision of their lives. You know, this is absolutely the biggest financial decision they're ever going to make.
It's the biggest first step.
Right.
You know, like the
Right.
biggest first step. Then, you know, you start a company. There's, you know,
Right.
the world is endless, right?
Right.
But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, right, is you really get the sense of when you speak to somebody and they're trying to sell you. Nobody wants to be sold,
Right.
right?
Right.
So here I am.
Right.
Here I'm going to tell you the tools that you need. I have the tools, and you have the will. Let's do this,
do it.
right?
Right.
Let's do this.
Right.
And so, and if you decide, hey, you know, I'm going to go this way or that way, or let's educate you. I'm going to tell you.
Right.
I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes, you know, it's that patience factor again, right? Comes into like, I want it now, and I'm like, well, now is probably not a good time.
No magic pill.
But no, there isn't. There isn't.
Right.
You know, if there was, then we'd all be, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
perfect health. Everything would be perfect, and
Right.
everything would be. Everybody would have the same, you know, kind of Stepford Wives, like you know,
Right.
where everything's just beautiful,
Right.
but it's not, right?
Right.
And that's part of the beauty of it. Part of the beauty of being alive
Right.
Right.
is that comeback story and all that, right? So
Yeah.
just because you have a 580 doesn't mean you can't buy a house,
You know, anybody that want to buy a house, I mean, you got to want to.
right?
Right.
And your credit is decent, and you have money for closing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we're going to talk later, maybe in the next podcast, talking about earnest money deposit, things like that.
Yep.
But if you want to buy a house, and I know I'm talking to somebody that's in an apartment, you're tired of going up to that third floor with all those groceries in your hand.
Right.
You're tired of coming home and there's no parking spot because the person
Right.
next to you had a party, and now you got
yeah.
a party.
And now
man,
it's snowing.
man,
It's
you
snowing.
talk-
It's
man,
raining. It's got
man,
crappy
it
weather.
gets me emotional. Man, you parking way down at the end by
Right.
the dumpster when you know you can
Yeah,
park right in front of your
and
place.
and you wore your nicest pair of shoes
Right.
too, and you're walking in
Yeah.
that snow. You know.
I'm talking to that person. I'm
Right.
talking to
Right.
the person that, hey, you're tired of the person next door playing whatever they want to play, and the person next door that you play, you're trying to get to sleep
Right.
Right.
and waking up the baby. I'm talking to that person.
Right.
You can come out that apartment, come out of those rental property. You can come out of that. You're making $950 a month and more. We can get you a mortgage.
Right.
Right.
We can get you a mortgage.
You got a
And
marriage
I got
payment, yeah.
houses waiting.
Right.
People are waiting to sell you their house.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Right.
Every other day I get a boatload of nothing but for sale by owners.
Right.
Right.
And you know, God bless them. You know, I understand the whole reason why they want to go for sale by owners because they don't want to pay a commission to
Right.
you know, things like that. But at the same time, if you are for sale by owner, I need you to give me a call. That's 248-906-5658. That's 248-906-5658. And watch this. I won't charge you a commission.
Right.
I'm gonna drop that bomb.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I won't charge you a commission.
That's big
Right.
right there, because you
That's
know
big.
there's a lot of things, is that a lot of for sale by owners and stuff like that, they don't realize how much money they're actually missing out on.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna pay commission to a
Right.
realtor.
Right.
Yes. That's a given, right?
it.
That's how
That's
they
all it
like. That's one thing. Mortgage professionals or brokers, or like how we are here, we don't make money unless we close loans.
Right.
Right.
We're not salaried. We're not
Right.
paid hourly. Nothing. And that's exactly how real estate agents work too.
Right. Exactly.
So if you're sitting here saying, "Hey, you know, I think I'm gonna try to sell my home on my own," you don't know
Oh, man.
what you could be missing out on.
Right.
The people that you could be reaching out with,
Right.
you know, that a realtor could reach.
With the right
at-
marketing
right,
plans,
in the
right?
right
the marketing
market.
plan is all
Right.
out. Because you're doing for sale by owner, and the people that's coming to your home for your open house, none of them been approved.
No.
They just
Right.
coming because it's an
It's
open
all-
house.
yeah.
I want
You
to
got
see what it
cookies.
look like.
Right.
Man, smell the cookies.
Yeah.
I want to see everybody
Right.
else.
Right.
No one buys it. Now you're frustrated. The whole weekend is jacked up.
Right.
No one. Now you can go to the Gonzalez brothers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gonzalez Group
Now
and
you
Nexa
follow me?
Mortgage. There
They
you go.
get the mortgage.
Yep.
And you for sale by owners, give me a call. We have something for you. I have a special plan just for sale by owner.
There
But
you go.
got to have a mortgage. The person that's buying your house.
Yes,
Right.
they do.
Absolutely.
They
That's
do.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you do. You guys can reach us at 586-201-7255. That's 586-201-7255.
And one thing I also want to put out there before, you know, people actually get into the home buying process too. There's a lot of things that can kill a deal.
Oh,
Here's one thing too something that we kind of left out too is you're applying for a mortgage. You're going out there and you're trying to find that home that you're going to be moving into, that maybe that dream home or your starter home, doesn't matter. Whatever it is. Whatever you do not take out anything on credit in the process.
Right.
That can be detrimental to your debt to income, to everything. So that could just absolutely kill a whole deal.
Man.
So if you are in the process of looking for a home or obtaining a mortgage or whatever it is, refrain from taking anything out on credit. Don't go out and lease a new car, buy a new car.
No.
Don't do anything of that sort because, one, you're going to really piss off your agent, right? Because they've been putting all this work in, and what do you know?
Even a cell phone
right.
do it.
Well, even if let's say you're at the closing table, you're about to sign paper or you're getting close to the closing table, right? Or whatever it is, and all of a sudden, the underwriter comes back, they're like, whoa, something just hit their credit or whatever it is, and it kills the deal, right? And it's just one of those things that people don't realize, like, hey, I bought the couches for the house that I'm going to move in, and I put them on credit.
You gotta wait.
It's 0%. It's 0% interest for 2 years or whatever it is. And next thing you know, you're sitting at home. You got 2 sofas sitting in your living room, and and
Can't put them in your new house.
Yeah, you can't put them in a new house.
And remember that 0% deal. It's year round.
Right.
Just wait till the next day.
Right.
It's the same. The sale is the new, better, greater. The sale's still there.
Right.
So refrain from doing that.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And here's the other thing, right? People fear the next thing is life's expensive, right? And people are like, hey, I have to put 20% down. That myth. And
big myth.
It's a myth that you don't have to put 20% down. You don't have to. You can get into a home on FHA 3.5% down. You can do a conventional, depending if your income limits hit. So some of the high earners are not going to be able to fall into the 3% range. And to be honest, right now with what things are, even the difference between a 20% down and a 3% down. In this market right now, it's the interest rates are excellent. So
just hold on to your money.
Yeah,
use that money.
Use it.
Right, use that money towards filling up the house that you're buying. Right.
Well, you always gotta have a little bit rainy day fund, right? I mean, it's one of those things, right? You have to be careful. I mean, we all want the best and greatest and the next latest thing, but we gotta take it easy.
Right.
You gotta baby steps. Right. We're gonna come out of the womb running. Right. So we got to take our time.
Home, or that entry level home. They
right.
call it now. I'm talking to all Chrysler, Ford,
right,
GM.
Yes.
What's the Amazon?
Right.
I'm talking,
there you go.
Everybody's getting these profit sharing checks. It's time to
tax returns. Right. There's your down payment.
Right.
I mean, I know
easily 3.5% right there is nothing.
Talking to my baby sister, you got a you got a profit sharing. You had Chrysler. You need to come on in. My youngest sister, Karan, you need to come on in.
You getting called out?
Yep, she getting called out. She just called. I need a house, big brother. Okay.
All right.
That'll be the first client for y'all.
There you go.
That's right there.
All right.
She's gonna be mad. Why you put me all out like that?
We'll take care. Don't worry.
I got you.
Right.
We'll take care of it.
No, all this profit sharing checks coming in. Your taxes are coming in. Use it for a home.
Right.
Remember, 5 years of rent at $950, right? $47,000. Or was it $57,000? I'm sorry.
I just was thinking about
$57,000.
Yeah, because
right.
So you get your profit sharing check, or you get your tax return, and it doesn't feel good to drop $5,000 on a 3.5% down $150,000 house, right? It doesn't necessarily feel good. Nobody likes writing big checks like that, right? But think about that, right? Now you're making that mortgage payment. You're putting, say, $90, $100 away in forced savings in equity. It's forced, and that's the biggest, and this is something that is interesting to me. Finance has not always been my, I guess I said, what I wanted to do with life. Finance is something I fell into. I fell in love with it in my, senior year of college. I was going a different way, business management, international, blah, 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 right? And then I had, towards the end of some of the courses, finance courses I had to take. And I was just like, I was sitting in that class, I'm like, wow, I really like this. I never thought I was a numbers guy, but I was like, all right, okay, I like this. And when it comes down to what separates us from a lot of countries, okay, separates the U.S. of A. from many countries is you can't access capital like you do here, okay? What I mean by that, most countries in the world don't have the ability for you to own your home unless you are the wealthy. And I know we complain about inequality and all that good stuff, and that's true. That is, yes, that's true. But you know what? In this country, you can pick yourself from the bottom and get it to the top, and that's not always the case in every country. I'll tell you that there's a book, The Mystery of Capital by Hernando Soto. Kill me if I got it wrong on who the author is, but it's The Mystery of Capital and the difference about how things are done in the United States of America versus a lot of places in the world.
Right.
You don't have access to a mortgage.
Wow.
You don't have access to 30-year money. And you got to understand, like, yeah, it seems like, people say, oh, you don't take a mortgage, you're paid off 30 years, you're paying so much more interest. Yes, but it makes it affordable. You go to England, you're gonna buy a shack for $1.5 million, and you got to put probably 50% down. So you want to talk to me about not being able to buy a house, or that down payment's too hefty?
Right.
That there's a barrier. That's a barrier, right? It's now this becomes a barrier. Now it becomes the haves, the have-nots, and that's something we have here: access to capital.
Right.
And it's all based on credit, right? So keep your credit good. Make sure to really think about investing in yourself and your family.
Right. Guys, and speaking of that too, I also kind of want to let you guys know essentially what brokers do. I don't think many people realize what mortgage brokers actually do. In specific, a client comes to us, we get their financial picture together. We puzzle it together with all the pieces of information that we need. And we then take it for our company, we have over 60 investors that we can go shop. 60. So that means I'm going to 60 different places that I can go get a different program for you, or I can check rates with these different investors. Right. So our job as a broker is to literally just go out and shop mortgages for you. Yep. You go to a bank, they're going to give you what they can give you.
One program.
Right. What they're selling.
Just the one program. They're selling one thing. That's it. It's a cookie cutter thing.
Bank of America,
it's
they
a
have
cookie,
their program.
Right. It's a box, and if you don't fit in it,
Fifth Third,
you're out.
Their program.
Right. You're out of it. Right. So as mortgage brokers, we shop your mortgage. You say, hey, this is what I got. This is what we're doing. Like, this is how much. This is what I want to buy. This is what I'm comfortable paying. And then we go out and we go essentially go get you the best rate that we can get you.
Right. And it's not always about rate, guys. Okay.
Right.
Because there's this little thing called overlays. Okay. Overlays. What that means, folks, is you go to a bank and you say, I want to buy a house, right? And FHA has their guideline. It's printed online. You can read it. It's very dull stuff. Let me tell you, it is not fun.
On a bedtime story, there you go. I'll put you right to bed probably in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, you won't get past page 1 probably. But it's the same thing with the VA, same thing with conventional guidelines. But this is the base level of risk and how money is being lent, right? That's how it goes. Now, every bank then or lender has what they call overlays, and it's not that they're trying to be malicious or trying to impede people from buying or this or that. It really just comes down to they have to keep a risk assessment, right? Yeah. So somebody that's never done the job that we do, somebody that doesn't really came out of school or taught, you know what I'm saying, was taught, like they make this rule. Then this is an overlay. You have to do this, or you have to have that, or there's common sense in this world, right? And that lacks at a lot of these institutions. So when say, the bank is the best because they know me and this and that. Well, guess what? Let me shocking thing I'm going to say here. Relationship banking is over. Okay. I don't care how long you've been with what bank or how long you've done with that. Now, don't get me wrong. I will say there are some good institutions out there who have the common sense and they're doing things for it. But generally, your what I would call big box store, say banks, they don't care. Wow. I've seen things, $50 million relationships, and they don't value that because why? Because that all they're managing trillions of dollars. So 50 million is a drop in the bucket, right? But see, that's the wrong mentality. So where brokers come in is we have one thing to do. We got to get that. We got to figure out how to make it happen, right? And that's what we do. So it's not always just about the rate. So yes, rate is important, and it affects your payment. And trust me, there's nothing better to me than when I'm offering that killer rate, and people are like, "Wow, that's amazing," because that's about as sexy as it gets for a mortgage.
Yeah, right.
And that's only in the beginning, right? Because then, after that first year, that mortgage payment's coming, like, oh, I gotta make the mortgage payment. I don't care if I got a 3% rate; it's still not fun.
Right.
Still not fun. But what I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, it's about finding the right product for the people too, right? It's not just about the rate. The banks may have it and things of that sort, but remember, time is money. So I'll tell you this right now. Last night, his buddy's buying a house up in Grand Blanc.
This is great right here.
We've been waiting. It's there's gonna be a lot of topics here we're talking about that we'll probably expand upon later and things of that sort. So don't get kind of like lost in the lingo and the jargon and things in here. But it's a contingent, right? It's contingent on the sale of his house. So he has a condo he's selling. He's moving. He's stepping up. He had his base level house. Now he's moving up, right? Well, we were waiting for the financing on the other one, right? I know I can move quickly. And I told the agent too. I was like, hey, I'm not really worried. I'm just looking out for him. I want to make sure that deal is done so I don't spend his money before it's time to actually spend his money, appraisals and the such, and really get the ball rolling. Right. And he's like, all right, that's great. He's like, hey, my man, that's great. He's like, you know what? That's a good thought process. Instead of just thinking about, oh, let's get it in and let's move like that. Right. You think about that commission check. It's not like that. It's really protecting the consumer, right? That's what we do. So that happens. We get it. The inspection's done on the other home. The appraisal's ordered, and we're rocking and rolling on his home he's selling. So I was like, okay, all right, it's time to start ours.
Right, start on our end.
The loan is pretty much clear to close today, and we started last night.
So I'm not kidding.
We're waiting on appraisal. Obviously, we can't do the appraisal right there, but his income's been cleared, everything's been done. We're tied. We don't even
72 hours.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, we had approved with conditions back to us within 12 hours.
Yes,
Okay.
and I submitted last night.
Hey.
I submitted last night. 10 o'clock,
Right.
11 o'clock, I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, listen, your documents are going out. I just need you to do this, because I knew I'd get in the office and they'd be like, hey, Fidel, where's my stuff? I'm like, hey, you got to sign that for me, please, bud.
Yeah, man, right, yeah.
So
Wow.
now, and it's a speed, right? Speed kills. Speed kills in sports. Speed kills in anything. And it's that mentality that the reason, and here's another little, like you were saying on my videos, right? Here's a little tidbit about how this world works, the financing world works. See, nobody will tell you, I don't want your business. Nobody will, okay? Even if they don't. And you know how they tell you how they don't want your business? Is all of a sudden their profit margin gets bigger. Their rates get a little bit higher, incrementally, week by week. And you're like, I guess rates must be going up, right? And you just think, hey, it's my bank. They have my best interest. Well, if you go with them, they know that it might take 50 days, 60 days to close. So when they're going to work with you, they're going to make a little bit bigger money, right? Wow. They know that it's going to be, a hassle. And that's how they gauge it. The reason the brokers exist and the reason we're here is because we can see it. We pull up and price it and say, okay, this is, $150,000 purchase, FHA, and all right, who's hungry? Right. And what I mean by who's hungry is like who's willing to lend. And what I mean by who's willing to lend, it's not every day that it's the same lender that's giving the best rate.
Right.
Okay. So it does like, hey, there's this one lender and they do it all and that's it, right? But you can gauge who's backed up and who's not because of the way the rate changes, right? But people don't understand that, right? So they think that their best interest is held by the institution they bank with, who they've been there, and things of that sort. And it's not like they do it maliciously, but that's just they get too overwhelmed. Right. They're understaffed. They never have the appropriate staffing, to be honest. Right.
So let me paint a scenario. So someone comes in, credit score 620, been working 2 years, they're making good money, maybe Chrysler employee, have money from profit sharing, things like that.
Yep.
And they turn it over to you. Here's my package, here's everything you need. And then you'll put it in a tank, say for instance like a shark tank. And it's like feeding the shark. Right?
Yeah.
So,
feeding frenzy with brokers.
That's a good way to paint the picture.
Basically.
Absolutely.
So somebody sees, oh, I like this one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she has good history, this, that, and the other. Oh, I'll take it. And they'll call you back and say, yes, we want to accept this loan.
Pretty much.
In that sense,
yeah.
I mean, here's the deal, right? And this is, I mean, I won't say you're painting with this. You know, you can't paint with the same brush everything, right? So you can't say that. Generally brokers are more experienced folks, right? And or have the appropriate mentorship and things of that sort, because it's a difficult world. You're kind of on an island sometimes, but you got to know your stuff, right? Yeah, and because this is people's lives. This isn't. See, sometimes people are like, oh, business to business sales. I know my job's hard and this and that. I'm like, well, this is someone's life. So it doesn't get much more emotional
business
than
is gonna be fine.
Yeah, business is like, hey, they move on, they get the next vendor, this and that. Well, this you can really screw things up for
children
somebody.
involved. You know what I'm saying?
Kids, schools, they're living in pets. You know, you're living in a hotel and things of that sort. So what I'm saying is, you know, we have the ability to make sure that we're putting you at the right place, and we know that. You don't know that. Right. You know, the consumer generally does not know that. And I'm not going to go to the doctor and tell him, you know what, doctor, based on my research on Google, I think I have probably cancer. That's all Webb always says at the end of the day.
I got a headache. You got a tumor.
Oh, yeah. No, but seriously, right? You can't do that. Or you can't nowadays, too, right, with the cars. You can't just go say, oh, Mr. Mechanic, I think, this is, like, we don't know. That car is mostly electronic. We don't know what on earth's going on, right? So you can't just you can't say that. Oh, I it's okay. I'm gonna take care of my own, right? We can't force ourselves on anybody, right? but we can educate you, and we can give you the tools to make the best decision for yourself. Right. At the end of the day, even if you end up going the route with the bank and things of that sort, all I want is you to have at least the verbiage and the tools to make sure you're making the right decision for yourself.
And see, I appreciate honesty, transparency of people that will say, hey, I'm going to show you everything up front.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's going to cost. Because when I bought a house in Oak Park some years ago, and I remember I had to tell my job, hey, I'm doing a closing today. I knew that I was going to be, a couple hours.
Yeah.
So I talked to Century 21 with my realtor at the time, and I talked to my bank. I can't remember, it was Barclay or something like that, but somebody was doing a loan. Now it gets emotional.
Yeah.
When people are not upfront. This is a war story, I call it. I'm a former Detroit police officer, so I go back to a lot of things that kind of. So this is
don't trigger him.
Yeah. So I get there, and they say, "Oh, you need $4,500 to close." No problem. I went to the bank. I got the $4,500 cashier's check.
Oh, yeah.
$4,500. That was. Now the house that I was buying was paid for. They had paid. It was all free and clear. The people were moving to Florida. So at the closing table, I find all the papers, right?
Oh, yeah.
This before DocuSign.
Your hands sore. You're like,
I'm tired. DocuSign. Now you don't have to come in and say, I don't know. You still do? Y'all do DocuSign? Okay, DocuSign. So.
For original, you still have to sign, man. Yeah. So that's the big thing now with electronic is making big waves, but the regulators it's trouble. Right. It's hard because you can't prove it, right? You still have to have that. Generally, you can recognize patterns, right?
So I brought the $4,500 and sat at the table, signed all the papers, and turned to the lady. She said, "Oh, well, you need $7,700.
Ooh.
My pistol is in the car. So
Good thing it's in the car.
Right, I said, what? So she said, you need $7,700. I said, that's not what you told me.
Right.
When I left. I've taken time off my job.
Right.
I went to the bank. I got the check that you said, oh, well, we need another. They took my $4,500.
Right.
They needed more. I said, no. And
remaining.
I was it. Give me my check, pushed up from the table, but thank God the other people on the other side of the table that was selling the home. This is where I learned how to do deals like this, and it was so funny. After that, I bought 8 houses. But
you're like, I'm always going to show up short because we're going to work it out.
Don't do that. That doesn't always work.
And here's why people are getting a little upset, because they don't know the seller can give concessions back.
Right.
So they don't even know that word. You tell people today, what does that mean? Well, the Siegels, God bless them, they're an elderly couple. They gave me the remainder of what I needed.
Wow.
Because they were getting a whole big fat check for $160,000. Mm-hmm. So they gave me the remainder right
Right.
there at the table. And people don't know, because that will stop people from coming to you guys, because they say, I don't have that kind of money
Right.
for
Right.
closing. I don't know what if you could be upfront with closing costs.
Yeah, I always like to go high. I like
and
that.
You look better when you come
Yeah.
in and say, well, I saved you.
Yeah, look at that. No,
But-
but all of us it's human nature, right? Because it's when you're looking at a transaction 30, 45 days out, it's impossible to know everything.
Yeah.
Okay? So what we do is we pad it a little bit. I want you to have the sticker shock right out the door at the beginning, right? Like, what? Oh, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And now, like, let's talk. How are we going to make this happen for you, right? Because at the end of the day, we talked about the numbers earlier about paying rent. Those numbers are astronomical. So, do what you got to do, right? You don't have to have HBO. You don't have to have Showtime. You don't have to have the iPhone 11.
Right.
All right, your Pro or whatever it is called or whatever. You don't. You really don't. Okay, these are all need, or they're not needs, they're wants, right?
Right.
But you do need a house. That's absolutely right. You need a place to sleep,
Right.
So, and when you have your own, you're carving your own piece of I guess you say you're carving your own piece, but you still have taxes and insurance for the rest of your life,
Right.
basically. But nonetheless,
Right.
we all got to go through certain things.
Right.
But you want to make sure that people understand what they're doing, right?
Okay.
And that's my biggest. Lately, what I've been doing is because, I mean, this here's an alert, guys. Right now is probably the biggest migration of change in the market that in quite a while. The millennials are coming out. They're buying houses. They have nice jobs. Yeah, they have student debt and things that sort, and we can get around certain of those things. But, that's the generation right now that's coming up, right? And they don't really know what's going on. Their parents told them, you got to save up 20%, all that good stuff, right? All that old school thought, right? And yeah, it's good. If you can do it, that's, more power to you, but you don't have to. What I'm getting at the end of the day is this is the market that's coming in, and they've been educated by the internet. And the internet,
Be right if it's on the internet.
Google said it.
I have another friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name. He's out there on law enforcement right now, patrolling the streets. And
Thank you,
he's
sir.
buying Pulte Homes, right? So
Okay.
he went to Pulte Homes. He didn't come to me. Somebody said because I'm a secret agent, he didn't know I was a real estate agent or something like that. But he went to Pulte Homes. And Pulte Homes told him, I need $38,000.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Right.
Wow, man. I mean, he's a cop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong. He does more than just that. But he called me and said, "Is that right?" I said, "Well, what did they do?" He said, "Well, they took $2,500 from me
Yep.
to hold something. I guess the lot.
Yeah.
And then they said the close was going to be about $8,000 or so, but the house is over $300,000. So
Right.
closing costs alone was $8,000,
Right.
about 2-3 points or whatever the amount what is.
Right.
But the down payment was 20%.
Right.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
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 So where are you gonna get it from? Now, don't get me wrong. Pulte Home, Toll Brothers. I've been with some of these people. Most of those kind of people are selling a home,
Right.
and they're taking the proceeds from that home and putting it down on the next house.
For savings.
That we going back to the savings.
Right.
Because I walked into a Toll Brothers home, and I lost my mind.
Right.
The lowest one was $700,000.
Yeah.
They go into the millions.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, wow, what if I had brought somebody in here and just showing them the house and say, yeah, this is, just turn it over to the Gonzalez brothers and we can see. And they don't make, what they need to make for the mortgage over there.
Right.
But once you get stuck going into these houses and then you feel like, well, what can I afford?
Right. Right.
Then you bring them down from the Toll Brothers house and I bring you back down to maybe we can do like $250,000 over here.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
Be reasonable.
be reasonable.
Be reasonable. You know
but-
what? Because at first it sounds great. The idea is beautiful. You see the barbecues. You visualize all this stuff, right? That all the experiences, the kids opening, under the Christmas tree and all that stuff, and that's great. And that the thoughts of the house, but really it's about the experience in life. Okay, none of the stuff that we do have here comes with us, right? So it's the experiences, the memories, right? That we do. So it's important. I always tell them that's that same conversation I have. Don't overspend. It's really nice in the beginning. You'll be house poor. You'll hate it. I promise you. I promise you. You will hate it. House poor.
Oh, man.
That means
Oh, what are you doing? All right, we're having ramen again.
Right.
Beautiful home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up, man. So if people want to come out to see you?
Yep.
No. What's
Yep.
your address?
Well, we're in lovely little downtown Clarkston. We're at 21 South Main Street. We're Suite 4 and 5 in the back of what used to be actually the city building for Clarkston. The beautiful, they call it the White House in our downtown because it's got 4 little white pillars. It's up. It's got stairs. It's a beautiful little location. We're Clarkston grads, and we lived in Clarkston for the majority of our lives, and we just decided, hey, why not set up right in our own hometown and be the prodigal son, the prodigal sons have come home.
Right. Now, if they can't go out to Clarkston, so they can just call you.
Oh yeah, you don't have to come see me. I mean, that's You can reach us. You can reach us via email at fgonzalez, GONZALEZ @Nexa Mortgage. You can follow us and find us on Facebook at Fidel the Lender Nexa Mortgage. And I mean, the good thing is my name is pretty unique. If you go Google Fidel or Nexa Mortgage, you're gonna find me. It's NEXA, and it's all capitals, fellas. My CEO gets mad when we don't use all capitals.
Okay. Yeah, man. So this is gonna be D-Webb Realty and D-Webb Realty Group. And you can find me on Facebook at the Webb Realty Group. Okay. So my phone number is 248-906-5658. So the reason why I'm giving my phone number out and I'm also giving out the Fidel brothers, the Gonzalez brothers number, because I want you to call them first. And when you call them, you got to say that you heard it on the D-Webb Realty Group.
Yeah.
All right? That's going to be it for us for this podcast. And
appreciate you having us on.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Hey, guys, call us, beep us if you want to reach us. Let's do it.
Phone number for you guys.
586-201-7255.
To get qualified.
Yes.
Now you get your qualified letter, then you come see me.
Let's go shopping.
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, guys.